Staff first briefed the school board regarding the interest in establishing Newport Coast in December of 1996. Newport Coast was constructed using funds associated with Community Facilities District 9091 developer fees. On May 26, 1998, the board approved resolution authorizing the issuance of special tax bonds not to exceed $21.5 million for the construction of Newport Coast Elementary. The design is unique from other elements in the district in that the school complies with the San Joaquin Hills Planned Community Architectural Guidelines.
This is not the original site of the school. The original site that Irvine Company had told us that we were getting was where Pelican Hills golf course is. They were doing construction and building all of these the housing pads. This is where they put the rocks. So for a year, they had to clear out the rocks. Think of huge rocks that had to be transported out of here just to get the grading. The architect said, we'd like to have some unique features. Irvine Company required that we have a tile roof because of the people looking behind, up above. So I remember specifically that this was bamboo, beautiful parquet bamboo floor. But there was so much interest in this school because it was so fabulous. This is the school that developed, and we developed the transfer and proof of residency is because of this school. Originally, as we were projecting, maybe 400, 500, and all of a sudden it started zooming up, and the first couple of years was like 657. We were looking at how do we expand this, and we actually did expand the school. The drop-off is that it wasn't planned. A parent here was on the Orange County Fire Authority, and he said, there's no way to get a fire truck in here. That's the reason we have this loop.
At one point in time, properties were all in the county. They weren't in the city of Newport Beach. So we had different construction rules, etc., with our properties. There was no pavilions, there was no shopping center, and we were all scared to death because they had told us that where pavilions was going to be a hardware store. In those days, we had no drop-off lane. We all parked down below and walked our kids up the hill. That came later. But I don't even think we had the gates here on each side of the office because everybody walked their kids into the classroom. It was a very open campus. When my daughter was 3, we used to come on weekends, park over here, and then just go and play with her on the PlayStation because there was no fencing. So it was a very different environment when we first opened up, and it was a very exciting time. We had a lot of new families that had moved up right above the school, and the kids used to come up and down the hill.
Hi everyone, thanks for joining us to celebrate the 20th anniversary of Newport Coast Elementary School here in Newport Beach. I'm joined today by the original principal of our school when it opened its doors, Dr. Hubricks, and today's principal, Principal Harding.
Well, I can tell you that the first day of school was really when the students showed up in the buses. They loaded them all up from Lincoln because we were sharing that site because the school wasn't ready, as you just mentioned, until February 26th. And so they loaded all the students up in the buses. They all came with a little bag of their goodies from their desk, and it was like moving day for them. They came off the bus, and we then became a school. The students were finally here. The same day is my funniest memory because we had some pretty brave parents, and one of them said, how am I going to get the parents' attention to get them into the school and know how to drive and where to turn? And so she put on a cow costume just so she would be eye-catching. And there she was in the middle of Ridge Park Road, directing traffic in her cow costume. Before the school was built, there was no community gathering place. Pavilion Center hadn't been built. The community center hadn't been built. That field across from the school was just filled with beautiful purple lupine flowers. So there's really no place for people to meet. But when the school was built and families came, the greatest thing I saw in terms of a trend was people forming friendships. Yeah, our sweet little Newport Coast Coyote was actually chosen before I arrived. The PTA actually formed before I was hired, and so they worked with their Newport Coast students and families, and the Coyote was chosen. And then one student's drawing of the coyote was chosen. And when I walked into what we could call our first Newport Coast building, which was one portable on Lincoln, I walked into the portable my first day of work, and I had a desk, a chair, a phone, a basket of office supplies, but I did have all my Newport Coast Coyote drawings around the portables. I think uniforms would distinguish us, and plus it makes it easier for us to dress our kids in the morning. So the PTA worked with the families and with all of us, and they took it to a vote, and it passed, and we went ahead and chose the uniforms. And actually it was really fun as a principal. We chose the plaid, the style. We had a parent who was very involved with fashion retail at the time, and she was really instrumental in bringing the company to us and fashioning different kinds of uniforms.
So we have 350 students now. I love the diversity in the school. I think it's such a strength. It's really wonderful to see children from all over the world and hear all the different languages that are spoken. So it's a real strength of Newport Coast.
Well, our greatest challenge, I'll go back to the growth that we had. Just hearing Principal Harding say you're at 350, I left the school in 2006, and we were, let's call it 630, 640, and we started at 330 something. So you can imagine the growth every year, 6 years later. So that, I think, was the biggest challenge. We had to add a permanent structure, so we had to deal with construction for a year on site. We dealt with the loop road. We still needed more space. We had portables come on board. So I think really the first few years was just keeping up with the growth.
I've never been a principal of a school where so many children asked me where I went to college. That was just the overarching first question they asked me was where I went to college. And then they would share with me where they were going to go to college. Young children. I think that speaks to what my first impression was, and also probably what the future trends for these kids are. Is they're definitely driven. They do definitely have a determination. And when I see what these kids can do, it's pretty special and extraordinary.
Hi, I'm Courtney. I started Newport Coast in kindergarten when we were in the portable classrooms at Lincoln, and I graduated in 6th grade. I went to CDM for middle school and high school, Penn for college, and Columbia for grad school. Now I live in New York City, and I help hedge funds to invest with environmental goals in mind, and I also write informational fiction children's books about mermaids and climate change. My favorite memory from Newport Coast was meeting Cassidy Lundy on the monkey bars in kindergarten. I guess we've been best friends for 20 years now, and she'll be a bridesmaid in my wedding this summer.
Hey everybody, my name is Ryan Sabuni, and I was lucky enough to be attending Newport Coast Elementary from kindergarten in the year 2000 all the way through 6th grade. A great memory that I have from NCE was actually in Mr. Gibbs's 4th grade class. I remember throughout the year we'd accumulate these little laminated soccer balls that at the end of the year we were able to use for like an auction of sorts.
Hey, I'm Cassidy Lundy. I went to Newport Coast from kindergarten to 6th grade, and some of the best memories of my life were during those 7 years. I seriously remember every boo parade and field day, and I loved being in the 6th grade play. And I want to give a shout out to my amazing teachers who are still there. So Mrs. Carmen and Mrs. Mink and Mrs. Bex and Mr. Gibbs. Thank you all for being amazing, inspiring teachers. You left quite an impression on me because I'm actually going to UC Irvine now to get my master's degree and my credential, and I'll be becoming a teacher myself. I will always be a Coyote.
To be at Newport Coast and be the principal who was the one that got to be opening the school was a gift. And I always am so happy when I drive by there if I'm going somewhere in that area and I look up and through the trees and I see the school, and I'm always full of joy when I see the school.